Weeks I spent in Japan with a friend from college who had lived there for 13 years. And I began to back up and think, well, why was Japan so special? Well, my father took care of bomb demolition in the Pacific, so he wasn't fond of the Japanese. My mother, an artist, took me to the Philadelphia Art Museum to walk through, inside the museum, the whole temple tea house complex. This is sort of a collage of things I saw in those 2 weeks. A place where beauty is important. I mean, it's really important. If you don't look twice when you get into a taxi with lace, with the driver in a suit, wearing white gloves, that's a typical taxi driver, not just Tokyo. These people are civilized. They have manners. They know restraint. And the kids, when they're on school trips, have colored hats. These are obviously the yellow hats, but in train stations you can see the pink hats, the orange hats, the blue hats. And they're often in uniform. When they have their class pictures taken, they're making peace signs all over the place. And it wasn't just for me, that's just what they do. Personal style is wonderfully celebrated. And vending machines. Don't be distracted by the figure. They have vending machines with beer, with razors, with all kinds of things. And they're also in the middle of nowhere. We were at a temple complex on the top of a mountain. At the bus stop, there seemed to be no electricity, but there were vending machines. Here, in this particular summer palace, is a room where, when you go in, people just sit in this room and look out at the view. And I kept trying to think, in the United States, is there anywhere where you would go to a room to sit and look out? And this is in a different garden, where going on the stepping stones actually feels dangerous because you could fall in. Now there's no piranhas or alligators in there, but still it's not like even steps and there's no handrails. And this was a very wealthy emperor's palace. It's covered in gold. And so, you know, there are a lot of people that know how to express wealth, and this is a sublime example. And I did a little trick photography on the next image, which maybe rhymes with that. Of course, Tokyo is a massive and innovative place for architecture and ideas that just aren't New York. It just isn't Chicago. They have their own way of seeing, their own way of thinking about things. And when you're there, you realize it. Here's an old idea: walls that disappear, get out of the way. I've never seen one that folds up. But because they wanted some inside-outside of this restaurant, that was the solution. But it's rooted in a very old tradition in tea house and temple architecture, where you have sliding walls. The walls pull out of the way. There's nothing between you and the outside. So it's like these themes, and when you say, oh, that's what they're doing. Oh, they did that. And I particularly like this particular place in Kyoto for the way the deck is made. This is a problem that bedevils builders and architects all the time. How do you get drainage, and how do you keep it from being slippery when it's wet? Well, there's the answer. Just throw a couple of half pieces of bamboo every now and then, and the water can drain out, and your foot can push on something. These orange shapes are called torii, and they're gateways. But where else would you have a line of these gateways 2.5 miles long, going up a hill to a shrine? 2.5 miles. Each one is sponsored. Oh, I have to jump to this. This is another temple, but it's accessed by boat. So you go through the torii to the temple, but you have to go obviously at high tide because it's not always accessible by water. But when the tide comes in, it's a feeling like the spirit is coming into the temple. I've never seen that used as a design element. I mean, that is brilliant. And there's just such a feeling of well-being when the water's there, and then it all leaks out, several times a day. So, I mean, this is designed so far beyond what we consider when we're designing a park or a church or whatever, that you just go there to have your mind completely rearranged. And it's looking, I like this little, these are prayers at a Shinto temple. So obviously one person wants a good score on the LSAT, but I didn't quite get how the Shinto religion figures in, because I didn't really talk to that many Japanese people in depth. I just admired this pink bus and the well-dressed bus driver. I mean, can you imagine that in New Haven? I mean, I wish it would come to New Haven. But there's just a sense of invention and a love of the visual and a sense of decorum. Sorry for the blur here. This is the basement of a fancy department store where each kind of arrangement of counters is a different gourmet food vendor from somewhere else in the city. So it's like a UN of gourmet food. We got there early. The whole staff was lined up saying good morning to us, endlessly. It was a treat to be there. Hiroshima. They know something about the atom bomb. They did leave one building damaged by the bomb. The whole place is rebuilt like a European city, big boulevards. And there's a sense, here are the white hats, and they like to practice their English. There's a sense that they know profound disaster, whether it's a power plant or the atom bomb or losing a catastrophic war. But there's a sense of resilience and brilliance that make it a terrific place. Thanks very much.